Hello, my name is Bibi Miller, and I'm on the scene for Spectacular Magazine. North Carolina Attorney General Josh Stein has made confronting the opioid epidemic one of his top priorities. So today, the Attorney General, along with California Attorney General and U.S. Health and Human Services nominee Hector Becerra, made a major announcement regarding this ongoing opioid crisis. Here's what they had to say.
Thank you all for joining us this morning. Today, along with California Attorney General Hector Becerra, I'm making an important announcement about how we are holding accountable the corporations that created and profited from the opioid epidemic. Today, we join with 53 attorneys general, representing 47 states, the District of Columbia, and 5 territories, to announce a $573 million national settlement with McKinsey. McKinsey worked for 15 years as a consulting firm to Purdue Pharma and the Sackler family to increase sales of their highly addictive and often deadly OxyContin prescription opioid. For the past year, we have all rightly been focused on the COVID-19 pandemic. It's the most devastating global public health crisis in a century. But we cannot forget the still raging opioid epidemic that is the deadliest drug epidemic in our nation's history. Even though it has receded in the news, it has not gone away. In fact, it pains me to report that it is deadlier than it has ever been. We had achieved real progress over recent years to reduce the overdose death rate. In 2019, we actually saw the first decline in years. Those gains, sadly, have reversed because of COVID. The unemployment, isolation, anxiety, and disruption this pandemic has unleashed have led to a rise in addiction and overdose greater than ever.
When 47 states, red and blue, urban and rural, large and small, along with the District of Columbia and the 5 territories come together, that's a good start for America. And that is going to be good for Americans. And when it deals with tackling the opioids crisis, it's even better. McKinsey Company, as Attorney General Stein has mentioned, is a big firm. They're one of the largest consulting companies in the world. They earn millions at advising opioid companies over the years. They were part of a machine that disrupted, in fact, destroyed lives and families in America. Today, we hold McKinsey to account, $573 million. Those monies are sorely needed back home to treat and prevent opioids in the worst of ways.
I'm Bibi Miller. I'm representing Spectacular Magazine in Durham. My questions are for Attorney General Stein. I was curious, what has your dialogue with the Black community in the state and other communities of color and vulnerable communities been like, and how will relief be targeted and distributed in an equitable manner?
Ensuring that these funds are distributed equitably across the state where this crisis has devastated. And frankly, the sad truth is that the opioid epidemic is really an equal opportunity destroyer, because I think that the pill part of the crisis in particular was more focused in rural and whiter communities, but as the crisis has evolved into heroin and fentanyl, urban areas have been equally afflicted. And so it is imperative that these funds be distributed across the state in a way that will meaningfully provide relief to people who have been affected.
Thank you. And I know the heroin and opioid prevention, or the HOPE Act of 2018, drew some concern from activists and advocates in the state. Is that still on the books and still being used?
It has been, and we haven't. The HOPE Act was a bill that my office championed, the legislature enacted. It allowed law enforcement greater tools to identify prescribers who were engaged in pushing pills out into their community. And it has been used, it required special training by law enforcement to access that database. And it has been used in investigations. And fortunately, I haven't heard of any issues that have resulted from that.
All right. And lastly, which specific counties in the state are you focusing on right now? What seem to be the hot spots?
As I said earlier, it is incredibly distributed, the impacts of the opioid crisis. And so there are differing rates, some counties, Wilkes County, Surrey County, but it depends on what metric you use to determine their overprescription and their overdose deaths. But the sad truth is that there are many, many, many counties in North Carolina that have had devastating impacts from this crisis, and we will make sure that the funds are distributed fairly across the state. It's not only about treating the opioid, people suffering with opioid addiction, but it's trying to prevent new people from becoming addicted and starting down that path. And so we rolled out a program called More Powerful NC. The website's morepowerfulnc.org, and it has incredibly helpful, constructive information for any person who cares about this issue, whether you know anybody with addiction or not. Things that you can do as an individual, things that you can do as a town council member or as a chief of police or a sheriff, that you can do to attack the crisis. But also there are resources there for people and families that are suffering. And we encourage folks to go check it out.
For more information regarding this press conference and other news, please visit spectacularmag.com, and don't forget to follow us on social media. This has been BB Miller on the scene with Spectacular Magazine.
Spectacular Magazine. We on the scene.